So I'm going to kick this off. This is being recorded and it'll be available for you later. We're going to talk about clarity and the additional developments that we have inside the software and how they're applicable. And the format here is very simple. I'm going to run through a series of slides very quickly, but don't worry because we want to invest our time going into the software itself, and I'll show you what is now in your arsenal. So, guys, we continue to evolve clarity. One of the people on our board of advisors asked when I'd be done, and we will never be done. We will always be making improvements to the system to benefit you. And a lot of this is based on your feedback. So I used AI to throw this presentation together this morning. We can see here there's blue where there shouldn't be. But other than that, I think it did a great job. So what's new? Let's jump into it. I'm going to spend about a minute on each slide. First, we have added to, and this is in your level 1 report, a better definition or a more clear definition of strategic capacity. And strategic capacity measures how well your business, Madam Business Owner, can deliver predictable profits, sustainable growth, and transferable value, right? And those are the key drivers of what a buyer will pay for the business. That is very different than related to, but different than value, right? So we want to focus on M&A, transferable value, M&A price. And, and our mantra is strategic capacity drives growth and value. High strategic capacity drives it up. Low strategic capacity is a limiter or even detracts. So you're going to see a better definition of the 3 levels. Level 1, which is for discovery and educating clients. We have, that there's a report in there. We've focused in more. We've made a few changes and added to the suite. You'll notice in level 1, there's a new financial data input module that helps you power 2 things: a discounted cash flow calculation of value and the sustainable growth rate, right? How fast can this business grow without running out of cash? We've interlinked several tools. The equity value planner, right? What are your personal wealth and legacy goals? That has been linked with the financial data module, which is new. And those have been linked to simulator for some really cool stuff. So this is going to give you holistic forecasting and diagnostics, planning, etc. New valuation. So we've always done a market comp, provided you with a market comp calculation of value. And that market comp compares your client company to a data set of closed private equity transactions, of successful transactions, and it's very precise. We've been through a compliance review with a lot of big institutions, household name institutions. The accuracy of the tool passes with flying colors. Okay, guys? So that is still available. And we've added discounted cash flow calculations of value. Why would we do that? 2 main reasons. 1, DCF dictates value for internal transactions. Let's take a management buyout. It allows your client to understand the risk they're going, the price that the business can support from future cash flows, and with all of the caveats that go around projections of future performance, right? 2 looks, though, with DCF. One is using a traditional model. In the other look, we're using strategic capacity to calculate company-specific risk. And I'm not going to get into this is not a class on how to calculate value, but strategic capacity as imputing a value for company-specific risk. Okay, guys? So this is this is great stuff, and you'll see how it plays out. We've also added a graphic that gives you a 5-year projection of potential value at a high strategic capacity. With a comment here, when we say high strategic capacity, we are never calculating at 100%. I don't believe there is a perfect company, so we always calculate at 85, right? That best-in-class threshold. So there's still a little room to spare, if you will, like a reserve tank. Forecasted at potential value, and it's based on optimized strategic capacity, and then growth assumptions compared to the market. Level 2. deep analysis, not many changes, but the notable change in level 2, guys, the notable improvement is we've moved from a modified Likert, where if you'll recall, it says, here's the best practice. Is that how you rate? No. Is that partly true, not really true, or not true at all? We've moved from that to defined terms. So this is going to make it more quantitative in the analysis. We're boiling out how one team might define partly true versus another. And as you're delivering the deep analysis, the level 2 analysis with clients, it gets out of, several of you have commented, this is great. However, my clients end up spending a lot of time debating what partly true might mean. We're gonna help you add some time efficiency there. So better analytics and a more time efficient format. I just covered this. And we'll move along. I don't want to spend time in slides, guys. I want to spend time in the software. I know you do too. Level 3, we've moved some modules around and we've defined them as level 3. These are your planning and execution tools, okay? And I'll show them to you in a sec. How do we turn our diagnostic, our analysis into an actionable plan? And we've integrated that with the financial projections. We've enhanced simulator. I'm very excited. We've linked the equity value planner to Simulator. Simulator, of course, projects results 5 years forward. We've linked the financial data module to Simulator. And this is going to allow you to have some very, very powerful what-if planning conversations. I'll leave it there. Leadership, I think this is an underused tool, guys. Leadership allows you to allocate the 24 growth driving objectives across 4 leadership functions. All right, there's again, I know this is an ideal outcome, and that we don't live in an ideal world. However, we can allocate those 24 growth driving objectives across 4 functional areas: executive, financial, operations, and revenue. Okay. This helps you map accountability. It helps you untangle accountabilities, supports collaborative execution, and helps align the team, and especially align the team's performance so that people are playing collaboratively and all working towards the common good. AI, you guys, many of you have met Claire. She's an OpenAI GPT-5 powered, growth drive trained AI large language model. We haven't quite moved into, the technology hasn't moved into agentic AI yet, but we're moving towards agentic AI. Think of Claire as your virtual assistant. Okay, very, very powerful. I'm getting uniform excitement from your colleagues about it. And what we're doing now is we're busy now that after today, the team has already worked. The engineers are already working on embedding Claire inside. Let a late comer in inside Clarity. Okay, Clarity, Claire. You get the play on words. It's kind of cute. So we have AI that is out in the wild. You guys are using it, and we're going to put it inside the system. What this really enables is the sky's the limit. I'm going to focus on this third. Here's AI being hinky again. You always got to check what AI creates for you. Shame on me. This is an inexhaustible resource for planning. Inexhaustible, guys. If you can think it, AI can help you do it. So imagine taking the level 2 analysis, this 55-page report that the system will generate for you at the push of a button, and giving it to AI and asking Claire to massage it, to line up with an exit plan, to line up with what have you. The sky's the limit. Right? Don't be bounded by experience. Let your imagination work for you. People are very, very excited. This is terrific. And if you can hear the excitement with me as well. So briefly, what's next? You guys, the summit is October 6th, 7th, and 8th. If you have not yet registered, this is going to be insanely valuable for you. I promise. And I've given a couple of you a guarantee, a capital G. I'll make it to anyone. You will get value out of this incredible event. We're starting on Monday morning with an AI workshop where we'll talk about Claire, but where we're going to really help you to learn how to develop workflows. Terrific for you, your practice, and your clients. There is a dedicated software workshop track, so you get to choose between two tracks. One of them is very clarity heavy. Um, we have what's next, the Claire integration. We have new training resources. We have a lot of people finishing. Steve Newpar's on this call. Steve, congratulations. He's our most recent C3D graduate. So congratulations to you, sir. And we will continue to innovate. And we will continue to create the tools that you need to win engagements and deliver what your clients are looking for, right? We're in the business of making dreams come true. That sounds a little corny, but when it comes to wealth and legacy, that's really what we're doing. So with that, let's jump into the tool. And then there will be plenty of time for questions. I see a question. Oh, it's fireflies. Thank you, fireflies. All right. So I'm going to pause sharing here, jump into Clarity. Here it is. All right. A little informal. You know me. That's my personality. So not much has changed in the dashboard, but it will. Nothing has really changed in the dashboard. Any of you who have not tried the compare function, you are missing a very, very powerful tool. That's been out in the wild for a while. Very, very easy to use. You'll see there are checkboxes next to your clients. Imagine using Clarity Level 1 with 4 people on a senior leadership team, clicking compare and generating an alignment. And if somebody at the end wants me to go and show how to do that, we'll do it. I mean, Clarity Level 1. I'm going to you use Clarity Level 1 for discovery. Imagine you're meeting with a client and you want to start a conversation about where they want to go and how their business's capacity to deliver that result. So we talk inside the Growth Drive community about intent. Where do you intend to go? Right? Much more powerful than goals. Where do you intend to go? And it's so hard for me to not digress completely. Where do you intend to go? And then what is the business's capacity to deliver that intent? Strategic intent, strategic capacity. So we're having a conversation with a client where we're saying, hey, I don't work with just anyone. I work with businesses where you and I agree that you are going to generate an ROI from our work together, 6x, 10x, 20x, return on the investment of time and treasure you're going to make in this process. And does that make sense? Yes, it makes sense. To do that, you and I need to have a common understanding of where your business is today. Does that make sense? Yes, it makes sense. Great. May I ask you a few questions? Of course. And you jump right in. We start Clarity Level 1. Here we are in Level 1. This is part of the discovery suite. Now, many of you, Tip, I know you're on this call, and several others. Garrison is fishing right now on the New River with one of his clients, but he is in this game as well. Larry Prince, I don't know if he's on this call. A lot of you are starting to charge for discovery. Huzzah, right? Terrific. Clarity Level 1 delivers so much value that you could and perhaps should be charging. This is one of the questions that is explicitly being workshopped at the summit. So imagine being able to talk through this with your colleagues and surface best practices. Survey hasn't changed. Why are you at the table? Right? The survey asks one question on each of the objectives in this OKR, objective and key results system. So one question on each of the objectives. And a bonus question, which is very, very relevant these days. Have you considered how the market, bull or bear, impacts the transferable value of your business and, frankly, your ability to successfully complete an M&A transaction? High strategic capacity, you maintain your options in a bear market. Low strategic capacity or lower strategic capacity, the softer the market, the more headwind there will be on successfully completing a transaction, okay? 8 questions in each of the 3 growth driving objectives, growth driving dimensions, which I'll reiterate. Dimension 1, predictable profits and cash flow. Dimension 2 is creating sustainable growth. And dimension 3 is predictable transferable value, right? Predictable cash, predictable growth, predictable value. Going to get some information about your client. Who are you? Why are you here? This is gold. Imagine using this as a script for a conversation. Business information, ladies and gentlemen, all we need, there's a tremendous amount of technology working behind the scenes that allows us to ask for two simple data points at this point, and the industry, and we're going to calculate a value for the business. Again, precise calculation of value, looking at successfully completed private equity transactions. Generates an immediate report, and this report is used to educate clients. Remember I said we've sharpened the definition of strategic capacity? Here it is, okay? Become a best-in-class competitor by increasing strategic capacity. This is what it measures, and this is going to create wealth and peace of mind. I mean, you guys see that play out all the time, all right? So we have a lot of training on what is in here today. I'm doing a lightning round of the technology itself. Okay, some big changes in the range of value report. So what have we changed? Well, you're going to see that strategic capacity is our differentiator. It is the most powerful number that you calculate with your clients. It is the benchmark. Best in class businesses have a score an 85 or better. Make a couple of comments. The median is 54.1. The top of the bell curve is 54.1. There's an exponential growth. This is logarithmic, right? So you think of a bell curve. We're falling off in quantity of businesses. Trying to get from a 54 to a 70 is one order of magnitude. Then moving from a 70 to an 85 is another order of magnitude. It doesn't sound like a lot of points. It is a huge amount of work. And it radically transforms a business from stuck, it's my book, right? From stuck to best in class. Now, range of value report has changed. Here is the potential value of the business if you had high strategic capacity today, above 85. Here's the value of the business. This is post due diligence M&A price. I was just talking with one of your colleagues, with one of you actually on this call, about getting an LOI. This is a call as I was walking my dog this morning at the crack of dawn. Got an LOI that was, you can get an LOI at this number. Once you've gone through due diligence, we predict that the price will be closer to this number. And with strategic capacity of 53, we also know, we professionals, that this business will struggle to successfully complete an M&A transaction, okay? Now, here's that discounted cash flow calculation of value, and I'll show you where you input the data in a sec. If we're selling to a third party, this is what we want, right? This is what we care about. If we are going to be doing an internal transfer or an ESOP, for example, we care about discounted cash flow. We're going to run it using a traditional model, and we're going to run it using strategic capacity to impute company-specific risk. And you'll notice the numbers are pretty close. Good for them. It's $2 million, $1.7 million delta, though. So, if your client is about to be holding the paper on selling their business to their senior leadership team, these are important conversations. What could the business be worth in 5 years at a aggressive but achievable growth rate and at maximized strategic capacity? 85, right? Not 100. Again, here's your value today, and here's what we predict would be your price. We can still educate around, again, maximum value, transferable value, the value gap. I can make this smaller, make it all on one line. There we go. Have a conversation about triangulating growth capacity and value capacity. So we have added a ton here. All right. There's a lot of data, a lot of explanations. These explanations, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, right? This Claire looks at, considers, and uses to provide whatever resource, research, KPIs, etc., that you're trying to create. Okay, I'll right size this again. Now, how the heck do you get the DCF, George? We've added a financial data module. So rather than putting financial data in here and there, which is where we were as we evolved the product forward, we've now centralized that input. We've added some questions that are near and dear to many of our hearts, especially as we're starting to prepare for a transaction. Are you using normalized EBITDA? Term of art, Important education point for the client. Are you accounting on a cash basis or accrual basis? As we go up the revenue demographic, we would expect to see accrual, but we still see some large companies that are accounting on a cash basis. Great. This is part of the conversation. And hello, Claire. Leave that alone for now. Moving right along, you have the ability to input data that would come out of that 3 years of financial reports. Okay. So there's a ton in here, and at the bottom here, we're pulling what is your ROE, and your retention ratio. This allows us to calculate the amount of cash that will be available to the business going forward. So to make sure that we don't plan growth that is going to shutter the company because you've run out of cash. Equity plan. So imagine, right? I'm going to show you how this all ties together in Simulator. We have not changed anything in the equity value planner. I don't think in terms of exit planning. I think in terms of equity value planning. How do we plan for the future equity value of your business in a way that is going to support your lifestyle, right? Your desired lifestyle. And importantly, this number down here, and you guys know how to lead this conversation. Well, you might be saying to this business owner, hey, you own 70% of the business. What happens if we buy out your brother-in-law, get you to 80%? Let's leave this alone. I'm moving quickly here. So we're going to increase your holding to 80%. You got 5 years to hit. Rather than being at the low end of the range of multiples, let's move you to a 5, right? We can expect from a financial buyer rather than strategic or synergistic. Let's not run the table. Let's go with a 5. Maybe add a point of margin, 10.4. So I've made some very reasonable changes. I've had 1 point of margin. Actually has a profound effect. So I hit click calculate. Now we have to grow at 10.1. Remember that number. Okay. So in fact, I'm going to go back, guys. I apologize. I'm going to go back because I want to show you how this plays out in simulators. So let's give you a 3. Let's put the profit margin back at 9.4, and move this cat. This is Diane. I'm going to move her back to her 70% ownership stake, because this is going to really show you a glaring delta in simulator because it's linked. Protect value. Nothing has changed here. A lot of you are using this to very good effect to surface advanced wealth planning, sophisticated compensation planning, succession planning, and insurance product placement. Okay. And this, again, as with much of the Clarity suite, gets your clients to put their hand up and say, hey, man, I don't have enough insurance. And here's a quick story. One of your colleagues is advising a large RIA and was in running this module with them. And the gentleman who's running it said, put his hand up, and he was laughing. He said, stop right there. I can tell you we don't have enough insurance. And they went and calculated how short they were. Okay. So there's a ton in here. Personal, team, business, risks, right? And this is linked very closely to programs like BEI's owner-based planning program. So a ton here, and we create a report. This is very simple, very graphic. You can see that they've got some shortcomings, all right? And the level 1 report has not changed. The level 1 report is designed for you to be able to give to a client. It has your logo. Everything in here is white labeled, right? It has your logo across the top and allows you to very easily create a leave behind, right? Here is how your business looks across these areas, right? So a great way to educate clients. Also great to be fed into Claire to create all sorts of fun stuff. All right. Now, that's discovery. That's a lot, right? What have we done in Clarity Level 2? Clarity Level 2, not much has changed. We're not changing the questions. We haven't changed the methodology. But what you will see is rather than partly true, not really, we are now defining. You will be asking clients, and the feedback has already been very positive, asking clients, okay, which answer are you most closely do you most closely resemble, right? Do your behaviors, processes, data collection, et cetera, most closely resemble? All right. And so getting away from the partly true, not really true, and making our analytics even sharper, right? Even more precise. Level 2 report, similar to the level 1 report. Level 1 report, I believe, is 23 pages. The level 2 report is 55 pages that pulls together everything. I'm going to go back here. That pulls everything. Whoops, I did. That's sorry. That's on me. That pulls together your entire analysis, every question, okay, every answer, and the calculation of value, but importantly, your scores, the ROI. Now, this is something that we do that no one else does. We help calculate the value gap is the ROI from working with you, right? So this business has $13 million trapped that it could not monetize at the deal table. That's the value of working with you to increase strategic capacity, lower perceived risk in the to future um, profits, cash flow, and growth. So, and this all plays out. And I know you guys are using this. All these scores, everything you see here is inside that level 2 report, as are each of these question areas, okay, with the answers. So a heck of a lot for you to work with. Now, the pièce de résistance, as they would say in French, simulator. I'm very excited about what we've done with simulator. Now, you remember equity. Remember, we did the equity value planner, and we have the rate of growth that's going to be required to hit their wealth plan. Uh, we have that data from financial data. How does that play out here? This is a link to the what if scenarios in the equity value plan. Scroll down. So you're going to recognize all of this is going to look very familiar to you. All right. But instead of entering it here, we've moved the data entry into the financial data module. Now we're pulling the growth rate here, and it'll refresh in a sec. And it's pulling. Well, what did we get in equity value planner? Now, how does that play out? This is going to tell us our growth rates over time. So if we really have to grow this business, and it's giving you a warning, it'll flash up a warning. Let's say we in the equity value planner, we have to grow by 28%. There's that big fat warning. You're going to notice that we're starting to have a conversation along the lines of, oh, and by the way, you've always been able to, you can blank these out. So I'm going to get rid of the industry here for a sec. I'm going to say, okay, here's where we need to end up. Here's how, if we keep growing the way we have, where we're going to be, and here's our cash, how much growth we can sustain. So we're pretty close. You investment bankers, I was on with a private equity group yesterday, and we talked about, this is why you might need outside capital, right? Because you cannot afford to grow to this rate. You can't make your wealth goals come true. We play this same story out across gross revenue, net income, and then we look at value at current strategic capacity, right? And value at a 10% annual increase in strategic capacity. Fascinating question there about how fast can we truly grow strategic capacity. And AI might allow us to create processes, et cetera, but there's no demonstrated effectiveness of that. So we're looking at demonstrated effectiveness. What's going to survive due diligence, and then we put it all together in this last chart. Okay, and so how fast can you afford to grow? How fast do you need to grow? And on. That sustainable growth rate is a critical. As a guy who grew a business to death, that is a very important number to track. Execute guidance. This has not changed, guys. We have all of our update times, and it provides the guidance. Okay, well, the key result we're trying to create is that the shareholders have a time-bound goal for the business, which has been shared with the senior leadership team. We don't have that. Okay, great. So, what are we going to do? If you click on guidance, it'll tell you. Well, you're going to have a meeting or workshop with the shareholders. You're going to establish business goals. You're going to assign an attainment date, and you're going to share it with the senior leadership team. You all know how passionate I am about transparency between the shareholders and the people who are accountable for delivering the shareholders' intent for the business. Won't get on that soapbox. We talk about that in C3D um, at length. I think our most underused but highly impactful for planning and for execution is the leadership module, where we are allocating primary accountability, right? One person needs to be accountable because if more than one person is accountable, no one's accountable. How do we allocate accountability? And you can do this after level one, right? So even in discovery, we can start having a conversation with our client about, all the things that are on their desk that shouldn't be, things that are on Jane's desk that should be on Bob's, vice versa. Do it at level one. Level two, there are 7 primary accountabilities for the CEO. I'm going to take a moment. A lot of our clients use the CEO um, title, but they're not acting as the CEO because the fundamental role of the CEO is to maximize shareholder value within the context of the business's vision and mission. Imagine the conversations you'd be having on this topic. Okay. We define that you have a definition for each role: financial, operations, and revenue. Okay. There's there's no perfect company and we don't live in an ideal world, but this can help you distribute primary accountabilities. So those of you who are familiar with the business flow scorecard, this is the person at during the weekly meeting. If we're working on margins, who are we going to look down the table at? Well, look at this: financial, high margins. Not surprising, right? That's logical. But how do we allocate primary accountability? We've also created links. So if I click on this, it's going to take me to strong margins, which is a dimension 1 OKR. All right. So I can jump between the two, close this out. So we're just trying to make your navigation easier, more convenient. Strategic planning report. That's the whole 9 yards. And then back to the dashboard. A lot here, right? So I'm going to step back for a second. Imagine you sit down with a client and you have we don't work with anyone. If I'm able to help you demonstrably, then we do want to work together, and have the client leaning in. Clarity level 1. What's your business worth? What could it be worth? Even if we don't get into the DCF portion, okay, we're looking at a very precise calculation of value. The ability to input more sophisticated financial data. You CPAs and fractional CFOs out there, this is for you. You business advisors, this is straightforward, and we will provide a training video where in the financial reports will you pull this data, and it's very straightforward. In about 20 minutes with 3 years of reports, you can create a DCF calculation of value, and importantly, the sustainable growth rate. Equity planning. Where does this story need to lead? Value. Have we de-risked the business from an external perspective? Have we de-risked it from itself? Succession planning, et cetera. And using insurance to fund the succession plans. Level 1 report. Level 2. Now you're hopefully sitting with the entire senior leadership team. By the way, we use level 1 with the entire senior leadership team. I am going to take a moment and go to the dashboard, and let's pull up our friends at Ridge Specialty Tooling. So this is all demo, and imagine that we have here are my titles. We're going to compare all of these people. This is how easy it is to have an alignment report prepared that fast. And this report can power a workshop. And some of you are working on these, but this is, imagine saying to the CEO, hey, you're very optimistic, but here's how your team sees performance. Okay. And misalignment. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. There is a tremendous amount here. And imagine powering your planning your projects and tracking performance over time using these tools. One more sec. If you haven't met Claire, this is an AI generated image. Her name is Claire. She's fantastic. And you can ask her anything. Maybe one of you can if you haven't, you can ask her anything. And she will give you a really good first pass answer, right? Always proofread and think about what AI is giving you. So, um, yeah, you can feed reports in here. I mean, she can do a tremendous amount. Okay, now with that, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to open it up to questions. I hope that was helpful. There is a ton here. So, guys, you have questions. I'm here to help. Anyone? Got to jump in. I didn't cover everything, clearly.
Hey, George.
Yes, Steve. Good to see you, man.
I guess good afternoon. Couple things.
Sure.
I forgot all the other questions, but I remembered two. So, one, where do you use the income method and the market comp method? It seems you use both or use them at different times, don't you? Or
Well, I would turn the question around to you. You're an investment banker, an exit planner, a growth driver. How would you use them? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to punt, but
well, I would if I was doing a valuation, I would do or an opinion of value, whatever you want to call it. I would do both of them and then compare the two.
yeah,
What I was wondering is when I forget what you call your graph,
the simulator.
uh, not, not that the I guess it's 3x2 or 3x3 matrix.
Yeah,
Is that based on market comps or is that
market comps, and that's all clearly marked in there. This is market comp. This is DCF.
okay?
Yeah.
So then, and when you get to the simulator, then that's DCF, right?
Nope. Simulator is the only thing that's fed out of DCF in the simulator is this sustainable growth rate. Everything else is fed by market comp. Here's how we would expect you to compare, because the fundamental philosophy in Growth Drive is that the private capital markets dictate value, right? And we can get rid of the word value because the private capital markets assign a price, and it's that price that we need to maximize. We call price transferable value, but I'm always going to default in everything we create. We're going to default to market comps. DCF is in there for two purposes. One is to and the key purpose is to talk about thank you, AI. The key purpose is to talk about internal transfers. We also are going to, coming soon, I'm putting my Periscope up. We're going to stick the Periscope up through APIs. So after we release AI, artificial intelligence, LLM, I don't want to use too many acronyms. We are then going to connect. We're going to break through the barrier, and we're going to start pulling data through APIs from financial reporting software such as QBO, Zero, etc. You can keep it manual if you, the advisor, decide to connect to your clients. Imagine seeing in real time the impact that you're having on financial performance. Cool.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Great question, Steve. Thanks.
That's just an editorial comment. I wouldn't, as a M&A person, I wouldn't restrict DCF to just internal transfers. It's
Sure.
applicable across the board.
100%, Steve. 100%. And yes, because you're always going to have a DCF calculation of value in the file, right? Yeah, I totally agree. Now, by the way, these are calculation of value for planning purposes. You are, of course, going to want to sit down with a professional who is going to run these numbers. This is for educating the client, for running plans. If we're preparing for a transaction, then we bring in the heavy guns, the heavy horse, and actually invest in getting professional opinions of value. And Okay. And I'm not, what we do is very accurate. We live and die by our accuracy. But for a transaction, we're of course going to bring in other investors. That's that 8% or that we end up paying in fees for a transaction.
Notwithstanding your qualifiers you just indicated, if someone has the ability or the inclination to put in the adjusted EBITDA or net income, then the numbers are going to be spot on.
Heck yes. Heck yes. And probably better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thanks, Steve.
question number two, if I don't want to monopolize thing here, is could you just speak a little bit about how you calculate the sustainable growth rate? I presume that's tied to how much cash is available and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, how much? I mean, it really comes down to what's your return on equity and your withdrawal rate. And I'm being maybe purposefully vague, but that's really what it comes down to. And that tells us how much cash will be left, and the amount of cash that'll be left goes to funding growth. Going to growth is expensive, so that's a shorthand. Again, you fractional CFOs out there, this is a collaborative community. Bring in a fractional CFO to say, hey man, this is what we're seeing, because they are going to see things in the numbers that we mere mortals don't see in the numbers, right? So I hope that answers your question, Steve.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you, Steve, man. Appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you here in a few weeks. About a month. Yep.
I've got one more if no one else is going to speak up right away. So,
Feel free.
so
Don't let Steve hog the mic here, guys. You feel free to jump in. This is not the battle of the nice guys. So we'll boot him. Go ahead, Steve.
So give you something else to do.
Steve and I have been friends for a lot of years. So
So since you've got a market value and an income value, just for the hell of it, George, you ought to be able to plug in an asset value for those times when it makes sense.
Yeah, Steve, that's an interesting point. So let's think about the rails. So I try to define like the bumpers. We've all gone bowling, with taking our kids bowling, and they're the bumpers, right? What are the bumpers? And what we want to what I am committed to helping you do is to analyze strategic capacity, right? That's the thing. I would argue that the calculation of value is mildly interesting because we know that a business with high strategic capacity is going to command a top, or is highly likely to command a top multiple. The calculation of value is instructive and gives us, a lot of your clients, you'll notice that we track gross revenue, we track net income. A lot of your clients are going to care a lot about that. They're like, I'm not thinking about selling. And we're making the argument, yeah, but you ought to look at this business as an asset. Strategic capacity is the one number. Now, what we have done is we've leaned a little bit into CFO land with this discounted cash flow calculation of value, but that's about as far as I want to go. It's not people should call Steve because Steve uses a terrific tool, that Steve uses and represents, I believe, a terrific tool that is a very CFO centric tool. And can we connect those two? AI will permit a lot of things. But Steve, your point's a good one. I don't really want to I don't want to lean too far into CFO land. Um, so
I got you, but it'd be a lot easier for you than your DCF exercise.
it would be a lot easier. That is a fact. The DCF exercise was quite interesting.
By the way, if it's mostly an asset value, then strategic capacity really wouldn't count all that much.
You're absolutely right, and we're talking about a tiny number of businesses. We talk about this at length in the C3D, in the value portion of C3D. Heck yes.
Okay, I'll
Cool.
shut up for the time
Thanks.
being.
Those are great questions. How can I help someone else? There you
George, is
go.
all
I'm
of
looking
this
at
set up?
Tim. I'm like, Tim will have a question. Hey man, good morning, afternoon.
Thank you. I haven't obviously gotten anybody all the way through this yet. A lot of this stuff is brand new, but I do have some potential referral partners and marketing partners that we're doing demos with. Is any of this already baked into like an RST demo? I saw you showing some of that. The RST demo that I've been using doesn't have simulator and all that stuff done. Is that available for
So
our display?
yes, after this call, we are going to go. Catherine will be turning on all of these modules for paid subscribers. Okay. And so stay tuned, but before the end of the day, that'll be the case for you.
Okay. And will she send something out like what link to use to get to it or whatever?
Oh
Where
no,
again,
it'll just show up in your dashboard.
I kind of need it filled in as RST so I can like if I'm showing the different projections and things, I won't have any data in there unless it's that demo.
That's correct. And something that we have on the dev roadmap. First, we're going to get Claire out into the wild, but is to have a pre-populated sandbox in every new account.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, that's helpful. I
I'll
mean, I'm
get you the
doing
data. I'll post it in the community. The data you need to update your demo. No problem.
I'm
We'll put
actually
that in
doing an
Circle.
alignment exercise with the leadership team in about 2 hours. And, like when we get to the equity plan, I don't know that any one of the partners wants to reveal their personal, financial plans in front of the others. So at that point in time, being able to just grab a new tab with, say, RST and saying, here's what Diane Ridge did and here's how it looks and here's how it goes can help to win that business with them.
Sure. I won't be able to do that for you in the next 2 hours, but you certainly can fill out an EVP in, you know, 5 minutes in one of your whatever demo you're using as your demo
Yeah.
sandbox account. Cool. Sorry, I can't be more helpful.
No, no worries. Thanks.
Sure, Tim. Hey, and good luck this afternoon. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the 21st, by the way. So I'm going to
Still
be,
working on that. I'll keep you posted.
yeah. Tim has invited me up to, or hired me, however you would say that. Thank you, Tim, to come up and help run a CEO workshop marketing event. And happy to answer questions about that offline. But imagine using Clarity Level 1, these discovery tools with a room full of CEOs, a curated group, non-competitive, etc. They're hugely successful. Other questions, guys? Okay, let me ask you guys a question, please, if that's okay. Are these updates, are they helpful? Is that's just a soft, that's just such a softball. How do you anticipate using these updates in your engagements? Do you see them as profoundly helpful, or helpful at all? This is one of the things that I get out of the summit is hearing from all of you. But pretty simple question. But how do you think these are going to be able to help you in your engagements, in your planning, and in execution? Don't leave me hanging. Somebody's got an. I know you all have an opinion. Tim, go
So,
ahead, man.
I mean, I'll
Tell
jump
me
in.
out,
So
brother.
I think the addition of DCF to range of values is helpful because people start to home in on your one approach and why is that accurate? And if you get anybody with any history in the room, they start to debate that, and it's a point where it can be a point of contention. So I think it helps to show that you've got both. On
Yep.
the flip side, you've added a lot of potential. There's a lot of stuff here, right? In some places, it's almost overwhelming how much stuff there is. And one of the questions I have is there going to be a way, or could there be a way for us to switch some of these modules off where we just kind of went from, I don't know, maybe it's me learning to expand with the model, but it's starting to feel a little more like Salesforce, where there's a lot, right? And so is there going to be a way for us to, let's say, trim some of this back if we don't want somebody to have to go through all of the projection examples or something? We can reveal it a little at a time.
Sure. I'd make two comments there, Tim. First of all, I hadn't thought about giving you the opportunity to turn modules off on a per client basis. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And I will commit to you that you will please remind me that I made this commitment, although I have the video and Catherine will remind me, but that I've committed to do that. But I would say is there is a lot there. But we have now defined. I talk about the hull of the ship. This is the entire hull of the ship. I do not foresee, other than perhaps bringing in additional external data that you will never see to sharpen up the reporting. Those are the types of things. What we're focusing a lot of time and treasure on, is using Claire. So I'm not gonna tease the evolution of the product. However, I will agree with you. We want to simplify without foregoing utility. We want to simplify how you interact with the software. And frankly, I think I've said, imagine, in my mind, in a perfect world, there's one box that says, Tim, how can I help today? And you say, Claire, bring up the Ridge case. And she says, great, here it is. And here's where we are. She gives you a quick summary. And what do you want to do? And imagine interacting, and imagine, because this is where we're going, being able to allocate, to assign accountability, to assign KPIs to your client, and giving your client visibility that you have defined into the analytics, the analysis, accountability, etc. Okay, that's where this is going. Fast. Now, I'm not committing to having that one box, but in my mind, that becomes sort of the ideal. I've seen a model like that work, and it was super cool. I simply worry that people will get lost. They'll forget about stuff. So,
I,
love the idea, Tim. Thank you.
I'll give you an attaboy, George, or actually a couple attaboys. I think it's, I don't know, someone used profoundly useful, but I think it's the key in making any decisions is to get some insight, and as long as Tim and I have the expertise to find our way through the process, there's a ton of expertise or ton of insight that's available for the business owner and
Yeah.
its staff.
And guys, as you're using, like, I have two screens here. Imagine having clarity on one screen and putting the
Scammed. But then I showed them what they could do.
Thank you, and putting Claire on the other screen. Now we're about to merge them, right? We're actively merging them. It's working in the lab. But take Claire and ask Claire questions. Download PDFs and upload them into Claire and ask her. You can ask her questions. You can ask her to amplify. You can ask her to create KPIs. You can, like, whatever you're thinking, wondering, want to do. And you will find Tip is on this call. Tip, you guys keep asking questions inside the AI. I know Tip just had a huge session. Tip Quilter, C3D. Looking forward to meeting you in person too, man, here at the summit. Tip just did a giant session going into Claire and asking questions, question after question, of refining, testing ideas, and refining. You can everything from your own business model to how to engage with clients. She does a very, very good job. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of words inside Claire, right? Hundreds and hundreds of thousands, somewhere on the order of 500,000. That's a lot of words. This book is 50,000 words, 54,000. So you can imagine you've got 10 volumes like this of very concentrated knowledge. She has access to the 300 plus, or 300 approximately videos out there. She has access to just, everything we've ever said in the coffee clat. She's looking at. There's some really good stuff in there. So, sky's the limit.
I should have been a little bit more careful about what I said in the coffee clubs.
And of course, you guys already know this. Everything is anonymized. Everything is, there's no personal, nothing. It's all put through the sieve. All right, we have about 4 minutes left. Maybe I could pick on you one more time. And thanks for the attaboys there. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Tim. I'd love to hear a couple of key takeaways from you guys. What's one thing you learned today that is helpful, or one question you still have that we might want to, that we can parking lot here, and I have a pen. So one key takeaway, Bill, I'm going to pick on you. We've known each other a long time, and I'm not looking for attaboys. I'm looking for what's one thing that you think, what's your key takeaway?
I will, let me start with an attaboy and a bravo. The key takeaway for me is I have a lot to catch up on. How's that?
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. That's why we hosted this. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it, man.
Well, it's also great to see, more AI creeping into things. So it's all good.
Yeah.
Claire looks like a huge addition. So
She is. Mike Desiato isn't on this call, but I think he wants to marry her. She's great. AI is very, very interesting. Thanks, Bill. Who else? Key takeaway.
I'll go. So,
Thanks.
even before you invented the word clarity, that was my word. And everything you're doing just furthers clarity, which provides insight, which provides better decisions.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Yeah. Total clarity about what we need to do to get the success we want. Right. Total clarity. Heck yes. Thanks, Steve. Someone else. We got 3 minutes left.
I'll throw one in.
Thanks, Steve. Congrats again. I had no idea, by the way, you were a veteran. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So my key takeaway is definitely the financial data tab is very thorough, and I like it because I come from a data analytics background, not a CFO or CPA background. And being able to still dive into the numbers and the specifics by being able to take financial reports and just load them in and have the system do what it does is like phenomenally useful for those of us that don't, deeply speak those financial numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Steve. And as you guys are using the tool, and you know this, so we just witnessed, Tim gave me an idea that you will see in software. And I get ideas from you guys. If you see something, by the way, I'm allergic to typos. So if you ever see one in there, please let me know, and don't suffer in silence. And any suggestions you have, please send them our way. You can send them to support@growthdrive.com. And the good idea is, I will run around the track, vet with a few people, and then we just implement them. So thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Okay, we have time for one more key takeaway, and then we'll hang it up for today. Oh, come on.
George,
Thank you, Paul. I was about to call on you, man. So perfect.
Yeah. I've been with George since before Growth Drive, and seen him take it to where it was, and then have to go all the way back to ground. And this is tremendously more than it was. What Tim said with turning off the modules got me to thinking the whole end goal of what we're doing is to achieve an engagement. It's not to wow them with all the financials and all the graphs and all that stuff. It's to get an engagement. So you don't want to take them through everything. You want to take them to the point where you get an engagement. And then there's a connection I see, George, to the partnership with 90, which now you take that and you start putting that into directed meetings that have a focus and the goals specifically of what you're going to do to improve the leadership. When you hovered over the one item in leadership, it said you're going to have a meeting, meet with your shareholders. Well, that's not enough detail to actually implement the engagement.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a good point, which is why I'm very careful to call it guidance. Thank you, Paul. And I agree. 90 is a terrific technology, terrific suite, and a great way to democratize execution. And heck yes, we have Growth Drive. It's chapter 10 of my book. We have a business operating system. We have meetings defined, and Claire and clarity recognize those meetings and provide fuel for them. So tips got to scoot. I think we all do. We're at the top of the hour. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, each of you. I really value your time. Thank you. And if we can answer any questions, You know how to reach me. We're here to help, man, and tremendously committed to your success. So thanks. And I'll see hopefully all of you here in Charleston here in about a month. Talk soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.